Why, hello. Hello, hi, it is me, it is I. Small Town Didi, your Heidi on DJ Ray Internet. Ek terug. I am back. Hello, yeah, la. You guys, just came back from a funeral. I'm like, I have some light. I put on some foundation today, okay, to go to the funeral because I am healing from my break. Because I'm like, let me try to get a video out because of what I've been seeing. Some comments around the issues happening in the Eastern Cape around the floods. People have lost everything. People have lost everything, not even in terms of material goods, but like family, I mean, I can't, like my brain, I can't wrap my head around the loss. Like, people have lost stuff. And then I see this TikTok yesterday of somebody addressing some of the comments that I've also been seeing about people saying, yeah, and then they're still going to vote for the ANC, or they're voting for the ANC because this happens. And I'm going to share a bit of it. It's long, but I want you guys, I'm also going to post the link so you guys can go and hear the whole thing.
When we have time, we must really speak of the confidence that is inspired by social media for people to speak nonsense concerning black people in this country. And I'm saying these spaces are inhabitable, right? And the inhabitable, they are prone to natural disasters. I hear your argument that the Eastern Cape was warned about these disasters, but in hindsight, what was going to be done in a space that was not meant to be habited by people to begin with? So we can't do this. Black people, stop doing this. You're selling yourself cheap and very short, and you love this thing and to twerk for whiteness at the expense of black people. Because here, what you're doing, it is to gloat and assume that black leaders in this country are stupid and they cannot do anything for their people. Yes, we can argue to a greater extent that they failed their masses and further marginalized them. But on this one, primarily, the reserves that people domicile in the Eastern Cape in particular, we must stop this thing. You guys are so unconscious. And this is what happens when we have an unconscious strata of society that is at the forefront of things. And people think, therefore, by having access and data to social media, they can just spew things as they want. No, do not do that to black bodies. Do not do that to black people. If you do not want to speak on the subject matter of Mthatha and the floods, leave it alone. But what you're not going to do here, it is going to insult black people for having voted for the ANC. Whatever. You are also negating the fact that the black people who are primarily voting for the ANC in this country are people who are still suffering from the traumatic experiences of colonialism and coloniality, and they have no other hope and other replacements that they want to run to except the ANC. So we cannot do that to black bodies. Whether they vote for the ANC or they don't vote for the ANC, what you're not going to do here, it is to stand boldly and speak shit about the people of the Eastern Cape. That you cannot do, and we cannot ever allow that. People are losing their life. The dot hole has risen, but what you're doing is to chase clout here on the expense of black bodies who are dying like flies from natural disasters. You guys are insane.
Because I remember around the time the elections, when we had the elections and the results came out, and I laughed. Like, I did a very short video on it, not really a real political analysis of anything. Just really what did we expect and what are you expecting people to actually do? And really my chat around that is that I try to explain that we really seem to not have an understanding. It's deliberate, it's by design, but we're doing nothing to fight it, right? A real understanding of what whiteness is and how whiteness and violence can be used interchangeably, like literally as synonyms. You could say violence or whiteness and I would hear the same thing. And because we don't seem to understand the kind of violence it took to keep the machine that was apartheid and other oppressive kind of regimes that came before that happened in other parts of the world as well that were born of white supremacy. Because we seem to not spend enough time with those things by design. Again, we end up talking at each other like this. We end up, when we see people who look like us losing, having their lives permanently altered for generations now in this manner where they're not in control. Anyway, we end up talking to each other crazy. We end up having certain opinions where it's like, it is scary how the agenda is still winning, because with a democracy like ours that's like 3 minutes old, people have already forgotten and or look back with a revised idea of what has happened or what apartheid really was. And younger people aren't learning the history deliberately. This is again by design. So then we just think it wasn't that bad and this is happening because Black people are this and Black people are that. I don't understand how in this moment where people are going through all of this, the response is for us to say this and that. And then it brings me to why I have such a strong disconnect for South African media and really South African storytelling. Like, there's such a disconnect for me. I can't connect with the stories that are being told. I don't watch local productions like that. I experience some shame around it. Like, I feel like, but then I realize, oh, no, it's because I'm not being fed. It brings me back to there was a period where we were seeing the 12 Years a Slave, there was a lot of movies, Salma, like a lot of movies came out around a period, and Black people feeling like they are, Black people across the globe feeling like they have some kind of fatigue of seeing certain stories told, and we would rather like get in our ostrich bag and just do that and not want to see where we come from or exactly how violent and vile it was and how much violence it actually took to keep us in line, if you would like. The discomfort we seem to like we experience when certain stories are told because we think the whites are watching. And then we say things like, oh, why are we always telling stories of like struggle? Why are we, those are our stories. We seem to be so concerned and obsessed with telling stories that we think give people something to aspire to, instead of doing what is, how it is that culture is passed down, which is by storytelling, how it is that, you know, people don't get forgotten, histories don't get forgotten so that we don't repeat those mistakes. We seem to be so invested in trying to show us in a very Bill Cosby kind of light that we end up in this situation now where when these kinds of things are happening, we can't connect with the root of what is actually happening. We lack empathy around certain things, and our go-to is an automatic, oh, it's because they voted for the ANC. But if you really understood how they end up in that area, which is what this lady was also talking about in this video, how you even wound up in an area like that, do you really think the apartheid government was going to have things in place to catch these people? I really have a hard time with, because the people are not going to read, right? And that's why I went automatically to storytelling by way of film. People aren't reading that we see. But now it's all of this obsession of like, I mean, there was a period where, and I'm not saying there isn't room to tell light-hearted stories, but the light-hearted stories aren't even ours. So they're inauthentic and they're not landing. We're so obsessed with not wanting to read. And I think it's like a, a carried trauma, like a generational trauma, where it's like we have this aversion to seeing really the brutality that is, you know, part of where we come from. We really have such a strong, like, we don't want to see it, we want to look away. But what that produces is this: it produces us not being empathetic, it produces us not understanding each other, where we come from, where we're going, and how we wound up in certain situations, and how we can avoid it moving forward. That is all that we get out of these situations, because you guys are not going to read. I don't think it's okay to stop telling those stories simply because we're like, oh, Sarafina's already there, we've already told that story. What? When we tell the stories of the township and they're getting it out the mud, and the spatial planning of it all, and the concentration, and everybody just like, oh, you guys are always glamorizing, we're telling our story. It's like the obsession with wanting to tell a reality that doesn't exist because you think it looks pretty. I don't understand it. It's like you so badly want something that does not represent the majority to be the face and the representative. Same way the people, like the Black American women, are so upset that they have a plus size woman as a statue in the middle of Times Square, wherever it is that statue is. They were also angry, not all of them actually, but like the ones that were talking about it's ugly, it's obese, it's this and that, because they would rather it be Lori Harvey. But how fucking many of you look like Lori Harvey? Why are you so interested in this thing? Because the whites are watching. You think the whites are watching, and you actually want the stories to be told in such a way that they appease whiteness, make whiteness comfortable, right? You want the stories to be told in such a way that they don't force you to confront anything. They don't force you to have to go and actually dust off a book and read something, which we're already not doing. Let's talk about how much we're already not doing that, right? You don't want that. It's uncomfortable. I remember everybody saying, oh, we're tired. And I'm not talking about that Tyler Perry shit. I'm talking about movies that have an account of history in them, such that we are constantly reminded of and I mean constantly, such that we don't forget and end up talking to each other crazy the way that we're talking to each other right now. Art is very important, and I think I don't know if I'm doing an okay enough job at conveying this when I make the videos where I talk about, even if it's the state of the fashion industry or whatever it is, what it carries with it and what it's able to do. I don't think there is anything that can actually do that. Like, think of like how much a song can move a crowd in unison. Like, think of how much a movie can get people talking, get people looking back and saying, but actually, is this or is this that? Things like consent in recent years, when we've watched on TV as to, oh, now it forces you to actually think the importance of these things, for us to take them and then not use them like the weapon and the power that they are, simply because people are fatigued, like people are tired of seeing themselves portrayed in a certain light. I'm afraid since the whites came through, they detoured everything. This is unfortunately a story. It is so unfortunate and it's uncomfortable, but it's your story and you're gonna have to sit in it. You are gonna have to sit in it. And as storytellers, I don't understand how you guys have stopped telling our stories. I've never watched that shit. This new wave of like copy and paste 2010 rom-coms and trying to just take it as it is, stick it onto the South African context, and then it's supposed to work. Oh, there is nothing, absolutely nothing in this whole world I find as disgusting as that formula. Whenever there's like a movie that comes out on Netflix or a series guys, I'm not saying we shouldn't do lighthearted, but we had a way of doing lighthearted. But and that's why I know it's for the performance of them, because it's almost like you're shooting and understand it's a business when it's said and done. You're doing it primarily from the lens of, can we export this? Can we get other audiences to understand what is going on here? Because as is the nature of capitalism, and you feel like if you told our stories the way we told them, Stockfell was a successful sitcom, remains a successful sitcom to this day, because lightheartedness and comedy was being done like in a way that really connected with an, like there was intention, there was authenticity there, and our stories were still being told. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's not that it can't be done, it's that, can I export Stockfell like outside of the context of South Africa? Will people have an appetite for this? Can they grasp? Is it too niche? No. Then we're gonna stop telling these kinds of stories. What we're gonna do now is find some movie that did well sometime in 2010 and like do something to it, put some black faces to it, have them speak a little vernac in between, and make like we've just done something new. Like there aren't stories of like struggle heroes that you guys could tell. There aren't romantic stories you could tell that still have, guys, Goguna Andi, did you guys remember that? That's romance. And it's like, oh my God, we're always being portrayed being poor, we're always portrayed being this, and why can't it just be that, it's a rich girl from the suburbs with a nya 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 and a nya nya? Because like what percentage of our country, like why are we telling that story? For who? What? So and they're still not watching your shit. So I don't know why you're continuing to do it. You don't have a white audience. Get over it. Like I don't know what to tell you. You don't have it. I blame Bill Cosby. I blame him for a lot of stuff. It takes violence, an incredible, and I mean obscene. I don't think, and I said this in that video as well about elections, that we need to stop talking to our elders the way we're speaking to them, because these people have even managed to make it such that we don't learn about our own histories in schools. The depth, really. You will be taught about the Nazis doing this, which you should be taught about that, and you should know about that, because that shit should not happen again. But you will be forced to learn everything else except about you. And that's why when you guys come into contact with these people, you think it's all in the past, it's so long ago, and they would never do it again, and this and that. But in the places that they're operating in now, if you pay close attention, you would see that they're still playing from the same playbook. White people aren't your saviors. White people are not going to save you. You do not need to throw that shit around every time Black people are finding themselves in distress, in a natural disaster, mind you. That is not the time to do that. That is the time to ask, where is discovery? How come it is that when Cape Town doesn't have water, when a whole bunch of Watts are affected by the tiniest inconvenience, the Sanlams of the world, the discoveries of the world, right? All of these institutions that we have all kinds of federal covers with, that's us, they come to the aid of that's when you should start that's who you should start asking the questions to. It's far too easy, such a cop-out, to be asking about the fucking ANC. And this is not the ANC is doing everything right chat. It's not that. It's that you are so quick to do that, as if you think they would be getting some kind of aid from, like if it was a government that was led by people who look like that. Like, I don't understand it. I want to understand it, but I don't understand it. If you are a storyteller, and I think this is hard again, because it's now just about profits. It always has been. It's a business. I don't know how you get to tell the stories you should tell, but I feel like a lot of you aren't even doing this. Like people who actually, well, they're after students with more YouTube channels who sit and try to educate us on something, who sit and just give us a good monologue on something that's actually we're going to be like, oh, that's a piece. That's something to think about. That is a piece right there. Where are you guys? Because you're not getting the gigs. You're not getting, like, build the table that you guys keep talking about. The stories are going to get forgotten by design. The children already don't, we don't know. Let me not say the children, we don't know our history. By design, we're not being taught our history because we would not be able to share space with them. If we were to be taught our history the way we were supposed to be, the way we're supposed to know what really happened, the way like if we were to truly, I think my brain personally would break if I had to really understand the kind of violence that was employed to keep that machine running. And I think it's that trauma, that knowing that in as much as I'm this loud person here and I'm like, oh, I'm like this, I'm like that, I would have broke. I too would have told the line because that was like the agenda of the day and that was the law of the land. If you really sit with it and ask it, and a lot of you think you're so brave. A lot of you think it could never be me. Oh, they're so dumb. Our parents are this, our parents are that. Why do they vote like that? They're damned if they do that. They remember. They don't want to go back there because they actually remember the fear, the existing in that fear. They are carrying on today, not knowing where their loved ones' remains are. And the people responsible are having lakabrais. They're raising their young. They have tombs they can visit and put flowers and say, my so and so is laying there. People are still lost. If you want to talk about, I get that I was all over the place with this one, but I just couldn't help but notice that connection and how much that bothers me. I don't know if anything can really be done about it because the people who produce the projects, in terms of like who actually pays to approve projects that will get to the masses, are the Watts, right? They're still in charge of the means of production and stuff. And we end up here where people just think it's not that deep and it was a long time ago and it could never happen again. The whole's kind of abortions over there. So it can very much happen again. Like, people can't, like, people are in comas. Like, not even a coma. There's a lady there that you guys, like, she's brain dead. They're keeping her alive over trying to experiment to see if her feet. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? So going back it will happen quicker than you think. It takes a lot more to bring about like change that accommodates the masses versus like regression that is going to benefit the minority. Look at what is happening over there. All the laws and all him signing this bill and signing that bill that is going to have like very devastating, it already is, right? A devastating impact on like a lot of people. But the people that are already on top, that are already winning, they only stand to win even more. I don't know where the delusion comes from. Like maybe it comes from us again not spending enough time with the history by design. And I think I want us like, because I've seen my numbers, a lot of you are in an age group where I can tell you're about to have kids or you want to have kids. It's about that age group. You're going to have to be deliberate as to what kind of material you put in front of your child, what you want them to know about their history and what you want them to understand, especially when they're existing in these spaces with white educators and white students, and they're going to be making friends and they think me and Luke are the same. No, you're fucking not, bitch. I don't care how rich your mommy and daddy are. You're not the same. You're going to have to be deliberate about those types of things as they get older to make them realize that no matter what happens, you shouldn't get comfortable in this world. You're a visitor. And at any point, they can ask, Ruba Suzelele wa bashitela. And it's not going to be in a nice way that they do it. At each moment, they need to have an understanding of that. They need to have an understanding that they're not better than other Black people and that the decisions that other people come to isn't necessarily that they're less than smart. They have their reasons and perhaps these are their reasons and you list them. You make the children spend time with these things because it's not going to happen in the schools. While you're concerned that they're teaching your children about gay couples and non-binary this and that, you have other things you should actually be concerned with. While you're fixated on all of that, they're confusing our children. They're not confusing your fucking kids, okay? They're not. I had a teacher in grade 3, Miss Bernardi. Oh my God. In grade 3. And then we went on holidays. And then we came back and they say she's married. We're 9 in grade 3. 7 years, we're 9 in grade 3. They said she got married. And they said she got married to a man. Our little 9-year-old brains could not process why she was married to a man. We just thought she was a lesbian woman. Like we were 9. We thought she's lesbian because of the way she presented herself, right? In our little 9-year-old brains. We weren't confused. We were confused when they told us she went with a man because she looked like the type of bitch that should have gone with another bitch. Do you understand how? So we're not confused. We actually are clearer. The confusion starts to happen when you guys keep telling us that what we're seeing is this and this is that, and it's you guys confusing us. So instead of spending your time on that stuff, worrying about what they're going to be, teach your children about their histories. So they don't wake up one day and look at you and call you a dummy for the decisions that you're making, because it's not the kind of decisions that Luke and his parents would make, because that's exactly what happens. Teach them how they're not equals, how I don't care how close they are. That at the back of his mind, he has these ideas because they're ingrained in him from young. Because that's what they teach their children at the dinner table. While you're also teaching your kids that, or you're allowing the system to teach your kids that everybody's less than smart for voting for the ANC. How could they? They're so dumb. Black leaders are incompetent. All of this and all of that stuff. While you're teaching that, they're also teaching their kids the exact same thing. Exact same thing. Good luck. Good luck with the anti-blackness that you guys are exhibiting online. Good luck with the frivolous, non-life-changing, non-impactful storytelling that you're engaging in. You should be embarrassed to have your names attached to these things that bring nothing, add nothing, no impact whatsoever, just air. That is embarrassing when you look at where we come from as a people. Stop talking about your elders crazy, because you, who's like shivering and quivering at every little thing, me as an anxious person, oh my God, I'm so anxious, I'm doing it, just there was no time for that. There was no time for that while you were dealing with the violence that is whiteness. You think you're so big and bad and strong and smart, like a clever black. You wouldn't do that, and you wouldn't do it like this, and you would, well, that's what they get for voting for the ANC. Don't let it come to you. Do not let it be your term. Okay? Don't let it come. Don't let it. I don't even want you to learn it that way. I just want you to change your mind. I don't want you to experience whatever it is or all that it is that everybody in the EC is going through right now. I don't want that for you. I actually don't wish that for you. I want you to just come to the realization that no, man, nor my thinking is flawed up. But that's it. Bye.